Yo, what is going on, guys? And welcome back to 365 Analytics. And today it is one of my favorite days of the year now, NFL trade deadline day. The NFL trade deadline is about 20 minutes past. It is 4:20 Eastern right now. We are about 20 minutes past the NFL trade deadline. And whoa, we had a crazy day of trades across the National Football League. Big players on the move like crazy. And let me tell you, it was a crazy day. We are here, obviously, 365 recap Tuesday night, as always. We're going to be talking about the NFL trade deadline today. Obviously, we're going to be talking about everything that happened in the college football world this past weekend, everything that happened in the NFL world this past weekend, and a little bit of a preview towards next weekend as we have a lot to talk about. Before I do start today's video, if you guys do enjoy today's video, please like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications for more content exactly like this. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's start with this morning. This morning, we started off a deal in Dallas. My Bengals obviously shipped off Logan Wilson, requested a trade earlier this month to the Dallas Cowboys for a seventh round pick. Dallas gets some linebacker help there. Um, pretty neutral about that trade. That was about the smallest thing we had happen today because we had a pretty crazy day. Next up, the Raiders. This is where kind of the madness kind of started. The Raiders traded wide receiver Jacoby Myers to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was already previously reported the Raiders were kind of shopping Jacoby Myers. He kind of wanted out. He kind of wanted a new change of scenery based off his past few years in Vegas. And the Raiders get in exchange for a fourth and sixth round draft pick. Jacoby Myers is now in Jacksonville. Brian Thomas ended up being banged up at the end of last week's game. Travis Hunter went to injured reserve. So it is now Jacoby Myers' time to shine. No more excuses for Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, very good move for the Jaguars here. Pretty neutral move for the Raiders. Nothing really that interesting there. But arguably the biggest move of the entire day. The Indianapolis Colts come out swinging in a shocker, an absolute blockbuster, trading for New York Jets cornerback Sauce Gardner, obviously one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League as we stand today. Two first round picks going over to the New York Jets, 2026, 2027. That is two first round draft picks to the New York Jets for Sauce Gardner. Darren Mugi, Jets general manager, the new regimen with Aaron Glenn, get an offer they can absolutely not refuse. And the Jets are loading up. Obviously, we have another Jets trade to talk about in a second here. Absolute blockbuster move. This tells me that Indianapolis feels that they're ready to contend right now. They like the 7-2 start. They feel good about the roster. They feel like they can contend for a Super Bowl in a wide open AFC this year. And they go out and swing. They were in the market for a DB. They go get Sauce Gardner in an absolutely insane move. And I'm also a huge fan of the move for the Jets. They get two first round picks and AD Mitchell, which we'll also talk about in a second. AD Mitchell, wide receiver, drafted a few years ago out of Texas, was very productive in college, but an absolute huge swing for the Colts. I'd say both teams won this trade. I like the trade for both sides, but the Jets, a great move for the Jets as well. It's in their own. Next up, the Saints traded wide receiver Rashid Shaheed to the Seattle Seahawks. He was on the trade market for a while. It was kind of rumored that he was going to get moved. He was one of the more likely players to get moved, and the Saints get a deal done. It ends up being, or that's the AD Mitchell thing, but it ends up being a 2026 fourth round pick and a fifth round pick in 2026 to the New Orleans Saints in exchange for Rashid Shaheed. Good move for Seattle. You put Rashid Shaheed aside of JSN now. Cooper Kupp's going to be back healthy. Torrey Horton's kind of broken out now and been a viable option for Seattle. So just another weapon in that move as Seattle's firing on all cylinders right now. They're 6-2. We'll talk about it more in a few minutes when we get to the NFL stuff, but great move for the Seattle Seahawks there. A little bit of a lower profile move here. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, former Tampa Bay Buccaneers first round pick, I believe, to the Chicago Bears. Deo Odengbo, I think you say his name. Their big ticket free agent signing from the Indianapolis Colts towards ACL. He's done for the year, so the Chicago Bears get a little bit of a replacement here for a pass rusher. Um, Another one. Darren Mugi and the New York Jets absolutely cooked today. He put the NFL on notice of what he is doing with this Jets rebuild. Clearly, Woody Johnson believes in the resume they have. He believes in Aaron Glenn. He believes in Darren Mugi, and they are ready to go. Blockbuster number two for the New York Jets, Quinnen Williams. who was kind of on the lower profile, wasn't really fully expected to be traded. It was kind of like the rumor was the Jets needed a package that was going to blow them away to make a deal like this. And let me tell you, the deal blew them away. Let's talk about the compensation here from Adam Schefter. Cowboys receive DT Quinn and Williams. Obviously, it was rumored the Cowboys obviously lost last night. Were in the market for a big ticket defensive lineman pass rusher that they needed for their defense. Obviously, already picked up Logan Wilson, as we talked about, pick up Quinn Williams. Cowboys adding to their defense in masses in the same day. I don't think this will change their team really this year or their defense this year. Definitely good pieces. Obviously, Quinn Williams, one of the best defensive tackles in the entire National Football League. Logan Wilson's a solid piece to have, but I mean, I don't think it's really changing the outlook of the Cowboys this year. They're 3-5-1 this year. I do not really understand why the Cowboys would be buyers, but a crazy move nonetheless. Jets received 2026 second round pick, a 2027 first round pick. That is the better of the picks between the Packers first that the Cowboys have and the Cowboys own first. The Packers first that they got in the Micah Parsons trade. And DT Mozzie Smith, who was a former first round pick, and he's never really amounted to anything so far. He's been one of the worst first round picks of recent memory. But another one for the Jets. Great move for the Jets, in my opinion. I was a huge fan of what the Jets did today. I think Darren Moogie put the NFL on notice, stocking up on first round picks. Three 2027 first round picks, two 2026 first round picks, two 2026 second round picks, I believe. Oh, here it is. This is the entire Jets compensation here of what they have. 2026, two first, two second. 2027, three first round picks. Absolutely insane what the New York Jets did today at the trade deadline. But as you can see here, Adam Schefter, um, the Jets will get the higher the Cowboys two first round picks in 2027 their own or Green Bay's. I mean, a crazy day. This is AJ Brown's not expected to be traded. Six trades today. There were six crazy trades today. This is kind of just like due diligence recapping. Here's a deadline deal right here. So like literally at 3:59, right before the deadline, Saints traded offensive lineman Trevor Penning to the Los Angeles Chargers. Obviously, Joe Alt went out with an injury this week. He's likely done for the season. They're saying, and Chargers they get a little bit of a replacement, former first round pick there. I believe he was out of Northern Iowa. Was it Northern Iowa? He played. I forget where exactly where he played, but he's been a failed first round pick for the Saints ever since. Fresh start in LA. We'll see how that turns out and what they do. But it's 2027. This is the compensation. 5 minutes ago this came in, but Trevor Penning's the Chargers. Here is your full 2025 NFL trade deadline tally. Obviously, Trevor Penning is a Charger. Sauce Gardner is a Colt. A.D. Mitchell is a Jet. That's a part of the Sauce Gardner trade. Quinn Williams to Dallas, Mozzie Smith to the New York Jets, Rashid Shaheed to Seattle, Jacoby Myers to Jacksonville, Jalen Phillips, another one I didn't talk about because it happened yesterday. He is a Philadelphia Eagle in exchange for a third round pick. Miami got rid of some players at the deadline. But it was also rumored they were going to get rid of Bradley Chubb. It was rumored they might get rid of Jalen Waddle if they got an offer they couldn't receive, but ended up keeping both those guys. Also, Minka Fitzpatrick was rumored. So they ended up getting rid of Jalen Phillips, though. So he's a Philadelphia Eagle. Howie Roseman does it again. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka to Chicago. Draymond Jones, another one that we didn't talk about because it happened yesterday. He ended up going to Baltimore last night. Logan Wilson to Dallas. Jair Alexander to Philly. It happened a few days ago. Michael Carter to Philly. John Mechie to the Jets, a part of the Michael Carter deal, I believe. A couple days ago, Keon White to San Francisco. Kyle Duggar to Pittsburgh. Roger McCreary to Los Angeles Rams. Greg Newsome and Tyson Campbell. That happened a few weeks back. That was a swap between Jacksonville and Cleveland. Odafe Owe to Los Angeles. Alohi Gilman to Baltimore, and that was also a deal swapped. And obviously, Joe Flacco straight to the Bengals a few weeks back. But it was a crazy deadline. Let me tell you that. It was crazy deadline. The headliner being the New York Jets. Of all teams we can talk about this season, the New York Jets were the headliner of today's NFL trade deadline. Absolutely insane. But yeah, I mean, I'm old enough to remember when the best player getting traded during the trade deadline was Laurent Duvernay-Tardif a few years ago when he was traded from the Chiefs to the Jets. But I mean, these past few seasons, the NFL has absolutely balled out with the NFL trade deadline. It's felt like free agency. It's really felt like free agency. So, I mean, yeah, a great NFL trade deadline yet again. These past 3 or 4 years, it's been exactly like that now. And hopefully, this is the new norm in the NFL because I always call the trade deadline the most overrated date on the NFL calendar because nothing really significant ever happened all that much. But Now, it's one of the best days in the entire NFL calendar because you see madness across the board. But yeah, that's all that happened in today's NFL trade deadline. Let's go into recapping college football, going over the rankings, and then we'll hop back into the NFL talk and recap week 9. So, yeah, here is your week 10 college football recap. And here is your week 10 college football slate. Pretty neutral weekend. We had some pretty intriguing games. We had some pretty crazy games nonetheless, but just another week college football going by. We'll talk about the top 25, obviously, as we usually do. This, or I shouldn't say this, but tonight, actually, we have the first official college football playoff bracketology dropping, and it'll be a little bit intriguing to talk about that, but obviously, I'm recording this before that comes out. Also, let's talk about the AP poll. So, on Friday night, Memphis beat Rice 38-14. I mean, commanding win for them. Ohio State beat Penn State 38-14. They continue their undefeated season, obviously 8-0. Penn State lose their fifth in a row, 0-5 in the Big Ten. Saying he's looking like a Heisman contender right now. 20 for 23, 316, and 4 touchdowns. Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith absolutely balled out. Indiana beat Maryland 55-10 on the road. Same with Ohio State. Indiana continues their undefeated run. They're 9-0, undefeated in the Big Ten. Obviously, they continue their run. One of the good old rivalries of college football, Georgia, Florida. No matter how good or bad these two teams are, it will always be a dogfight, and this proves nothing different. 24-20, Georgia gets past Florida in Jacksonville. 20 for 29, 223, and 2 touchdowns for Stockton as Florida falls to Georgia. Ole Miss beats South Carolina 30-14. Lane Kiffin looks like he's in a roll playoff spot right now. K1 Lacey 24 for 167 and 1 touchdown. I mean, absolutely crazy game for him. Arguably the upset of the weekend in the ACC. Georgia Tech goes on the road, absolute defensive collapse, loses to NC State on the road. Georgia Tech falls, their first loss of the entire season. 36-48. Haynes King goes 25 for 35, 408, and 2 touchdowns. In my opinion, Haynes King should be getting more Heisman hype right now. The Georgia Tech defense clearly let Haynes King down in this game, and Georgia Tech's been on fraud watch for a little while now. A lot of people haven't been sold on them. They've been very, very suspect against certain teams, and they finally end up falling to one of them, to NC State here. So NC State gets the win. Texas beats Vanderbilt at home. Arch Manning, arguably his best game of the entire season. I mean, Pavia had a great game too, but it wasn't enough. 27 for 38, 365, and 3 touchdowns for Pavia. Wisner goes 18 for 75 and a touchdown as well. Texas wins a game 34-31. Texas looked like they were about to blow the doors open in this game at home. Vanderbilt started to crawl back a little bit, but it wasn't enough. Texas goes to 7-2, and no matter what you want to hear, no matter what people tell you, Texas still playoff hopes are still very, very alive. 4-1 in the SEC. They're going to have high priority from the committee. So if Texas runs the table, they're going to be in that conversation. Miami with Carson Beck takes their second straight loss on the road. This time the SMU in Dallas. SMU goes to 4-1 in the ACC. They beat them 26-20. Miami's season is over like this, in a snap of fingers in 2 games, losing to Louisville, losing to SMU. That's a wrap on their season. Notre Dame beats BC 25-10. A little bit of a defensive slobber knocker here. I mean, Jeremiah Love still goes for 136 and 2 touchdowns, but nonetheless, they get it done. Texas Tech beats Kansas State 43-20. Texas Tech goes to 8-1. They will play BYU next week at home. College game. They will be on site for that one. Oklahoma and Tennessee play also a very good game. John Mateer looks back healthy. He had his best game since the thumb injury. They win 33-27. Oklahoma was 7-2, 3-2 in the SEC. The Vol season's over at this point. This is an elimination game. Everybody knew it. Oklahoma goes on the road in Rocky Top and wins a Tennessee blackout game. It wasn't enough. Aguilar, couple costly mistakes, threw a bad interception, but yeah, Oklahoma wins that one. Virginia beats Cal on the road 31-21. They go to 5-0 in the ACC, 8-1 on the season. Louisville beats Virginia Tech on the road 28-16. Louisville goes 7-1. They are also not out of the equation for a playoff spot. If they keep rolling, you never know. 19 for 28, 136, and 1 touchdown for Miller Mott's. In Utah, in Salt Lake City. Game day was on site for this one, and the Utes absolutely kill the Bearcats 45-14. Sorsby had arguably his worst game of the year. I mean, 33% completion percentage in this one. Cincinnati falls 7-2, 5-1 in the Big 12. Their first loss since week one in this one. They played BYU in a few weeks, I believe, but Utah, they looked very good in this game at home in Salt Lake City. They win this game. Michigan beats Purdue 21-16 at home. I still have not been sold on Bryce Underwood. Obviously, a freshman. He's going to get better, but Michigan wins this game. This was one of the sneaky best games of the weekend. West Virginia versus Houston. 45-35. West Virginia gets the upset on the road. Connor Wayman, very good game in his own right. 309 yards and 4 touchdowns, but it wasn't enough. And on Big Ten Saturday night on NBC, USC travels into Lincoln, wins the game 21-17. Jaden Mayava didn't take much. 9 for 23, 135, and 1 touchdown, but they got past Nebraska in this game. Dylan Raiola was hurt in this game, and he is done for the season. So that is your Week 10 college football slate. We'll preview Week 11 real quick. We do not have many weeks left here, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we have 12, 13 is 14 rivalry week, and then there's bowl week, there's Army Navy week in there, but there's not many full college football slates left, ladies and gentlemen. So enjoy every single moment you have. So it's ending very soon in the college football world. On Friday night, we have a top 25 matchup here. Not both teams, but Northwestern at USC in the Coliseum could be intriguing. Tulane at Memphis, also at 9 o'clock on ESPN in the American Conference. In obviously big noon on Fox. Indiana Penn State was hyped up to be a very, very good game before the season started in University Park. Penn State's lost 5 in a row. Indiana should roll here. Georgia, Mississippi State SEC matchup at noon. Here is the big ticket game of the week. College game day will be on site in Texas Tech. For this game, BYU, Texas Tech 8-0 versus 8-1. Huge Big 12 matchup at noon on ABC. This is a can't miss game right here. Ohio State, Purdue in the Big 10. Ohio State should win by 50. Ole Miss is playing the Citadel in December, which feels crazy because I can't believe they got the Citadel on the schedule in November. Kind of seems crazy to say. This feels like a game that should be played in September, but here we are. Texas A&M travels to Mizzou in Columbia. Mizzou 6-2. Obviously, their season's pretty much over at this point for college football playoff hopes. Texas A&M, they're well rested off a bye. Marcel Reed. Last time we saw them, they played LSU. Looked very, very good. Oregon and Iowa play at 3:30 on CBS. A little bit of a Big Ten matchup there. Iowa's defense, how much can they contain Oregon? Syracuse in Miami in the ACC. Nobody really cares about this game right now because of how bad Miami's looked. 28.5 point spread, though, is very intriguing. I would not be surprised if Syracuse covered that based on the way Miami's looked in the past few weeks. Auburn and Vanderbilt at 4 o'clock Eastern in Nashville. Hugh Freeze was fired this past week out of Auburn, so it's obviously a fresh start there next year. Washington and Wisconsin in a Big Ten matchup. Obviously, a disaster year for Wisconsin. Wake Forest and Virginia. Virginia hosts a game in the ACC. They're undefeated in the ACC right now. They should roll. 6.5 point spread, though. Pretty intriguing. I think Virginia could cover that. Cal and Louisville play in Kentucky. One of the older rivalries across the college football landscape. SEC hard-nosed. LSU's first game without Brian Kelly. It is LSU Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Obviously, you have Nussmeier versus Simpson, but LSU season's over at this point. Brian Kelly's fired. It's a fresh start for them next year as well. Alabama should roll in this game. They're favored by 10.5 points. And you also have your last top 25 game, Navy, Notre Dame. Let's see how much can Navy keep up with Notre Dame. It'll be interesting to watch that one. I mean, Navy 7-1. Notre Dame should still roll, but I mean, BC only lost by 15 to them last week. So who knows what can happen in the college football landscape at this point. So, yeah, that is your college football week 11 preview. We are absolutely rolling through the season. It's pretty insane to say. It's November 4th at this point. We are going into week 10 of the NFL season and week 11 of the college football season. But Right now, let's talk about the top 25, and then we will recap everything that happened in NFL Week 9. And here is your Week 11 AP poll across the college football landscape. I mean, we have our first official college football playoff bracketology coming out tonight, so that's pretty exciting. But right now, we have the AP poll to talk about. Number one, as they've been for weeks, the same exact top seven it was last week: Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, Ole Miss, BYU, or Ole Miss, sorry, BYU up 12, well, 2 spots, but that's the same exact top seven it's been for a few weeks now. It feels like it's been that pool of teams, but that's the same exact top seven as last week. Followed by BYU and Texas Tech. Those two play in Lubbock this week. That will be very, very good game there. Followed by Notre Dame going up 2 spots after the Boston College win. Oklahoma, Virginia, Texas up 7 spots after the Vandy win. As I said, their season is very, very alive. And at times it's looked very, very bleak. They beat Kentucky in an absolute slugfest. I mean, Kentucky's one of the worst teams in the SEC this year, and they beat Kentucky in a slugfest. So, I mean, their season's very alive. The committee is huge fans of big SEC teams. Followed by Louisville, Vanderbilt falls down 6 spots from number 9 with the loss. Georgia Tech down 8 spots, even after all the offensive efforts they put into that game. Utah at 17, they're at 7 spots up. Miami still in the top 25, kind of baffling to me. If they're even I wouldn't be surprised if they're out of the top 25 by the time the season's over. Mizzou stays the exact same, followed by USC. Michigan stays the same. Memphis in the top 25 in the second straight week. They're up 3 spots. Tennessee at 6-3 at number 23, followed by Washington, who was out of the top 25 last week, and Cincinnati, who just stays in that top 25 rankings after the blowout loss versus Utah. In the coaches poll, nothing really that intriguing besides I see Iowa, who was unranked last week, in the top 25. For them, they're probably just outside of the AP poll, I should say. But other than that, nothing really that crazy. Um, yeah, I mean Mizzou's a little higher here than they were in the AP poll, but yeah, that's your week 11 college football rankings. It should be a very, very intriguing week ahead. I am utterly excited for BYU versus Texas Tech. It feels like a huge, huge Big 12 matchup, and it's about as big as it gets for a Big 12 matchup at this point in the year. Usually you're talking about SEC, Big 10, but we're talking about Big 12 at this point in the year. Undefeated versus one loss. I mean, should be very intriguing. College game days on site for that one. That one's at noon on ABC. But now let's talk about the NFL. Let's recap this past week. Let's preview the next week a little bit, and then we'll hop up out of here. So, yeah, this past weekend in the National Football League, we saw a lot of crazy things happen, particularly in Cincinnati, particularly in Buffalo, and yeah, let's talk about it. On Thursday Night Football, we had a little bit of an AFC matchup. Lamar Jackson is back, 4 touchdown passes, but they beat the Dolphins 28-6. Mike McDaniel looks absolutely fed up with Tua Tagovailoa right now. Chris Greer was fired on Friday morning after the aftermath of this game. The Baltimore Ravens are 3-5. They've won 2 in a row, and everybody seems to be bought in that they are winning the AFC North. They are coming from behind, and that's the world. That's the wide belief across NFL fans right now. So, yeah, the Ravens, they look back. Derrick Henry probably had his second best game the entire season on Thursday. So, I talked about it yesterday. I made a video yesterday. The Bengals fall to the Bears 42-47. What more do you say about the Bengals defense right now? What more do you say? I mean, it's a historically bad unit, historically bad unit. They legitimately, if Trey Hendrickson's on that field, which obviously he wasn't traded today, I thought the Bengals should have moved Trey Hendrickson today. I was on team move Trey Hendrickson. He's likely either number one. Let's lay it out like this. Let's lay it out like this. Option A, he walks for nothing in the offseason. You get a comp pick at best. You get a third rounder at best in compensation pick. Option B, you are in another holdout situation, try to get a contract extension done for him, a 31-year-old pass rusher with who's been banged up this year. Option C, they franchise tag him. With all the draft picks flying around today and all the compensation that was going around today, the teams that were needed of pass rushers, and the Bengals didn't move Trey Hendrickson, I think it's absolute malpractice from the front office based on the way the season's going. They are not waving the white flag on the season. although I think they should. But we're sitting at 3-6 right now, 42-47. Joe Flacco. I mean, what more do you say? 31 47, 470, and 4 touchdowns on a bad shoulder at 40 years old. Left it all on the field. Shout out to Joe Flacco, man. Making my Sundays fun, at least. If nothing else, if we're not winning games, he's making my Sundays fun. Let me tell you that. The Bears get past the Bengals. They go to 5-3, 47-42. Monongai, great game for him. T. Higgins had one of the best games of his entire career. I talked about it more yesterday. I gave all my opinions on yesterday's video, but disaster. Disaster in Cincinnati. We are going into the bye week. The Vikings, JJ McCarthy is back and they get back to 500. 4-4, 3-2 on the road. JJ McCarthy wins the game 27-24 over Detroit. And suddenly that NFC North tightens up a little bit. You see Chicago win, you see Green Bay lose. Light bulb goes off in your head. The NFC North is compact tight. Minnesota wins on the road here. They're clearly a different team, JJ McCarthy. The Vikings I saw on Sunday were the Vikings that I was expecting to see going into the year. I was high on the Vikings going into the year, and the way they played Sunday were the way I was expecting them to play all season. But Goff had a good game in his own right. The Lions fall there. In the defensive games of all defensive games, if you told me this one would be a defensive game, I kind of call you crazy. But Carolina beats Green Bay on the road there, 16-13. Rico Dowdle, another big day for him. He is clearly the bell cow in Carolina now. Dave Canales has said they're going to start using Chuba Hubbard less, and he goes for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns, going down as my best fantasy waiver wire pickup of the entire year. The Chargers beat the Titans 27-20. Joe Alt did go out in this game. Herbert threw a pick six, but he made some good throws in the hindsight of things. 27-20. Chargers go to 6-3. I think losing Joe Alt is obviously very alarming. Their offense obviously runs on Joe Alt. That's been the general consensus. They are good when Joe Alt's on that field. And when the division they play in, they still have to play Denver once, still play Kansas City again. They still have to play Philadelphia. Philadelphia's on the schedule. Dallas is on the schedule. It's a really good offense. I mean, I'm not going to say it kills their season because they're sitting at 6-3. They're in the AFC playoff picture right now, but I think it is very alarming when you see teams on the outside like Kansas City that can sneak in. I think there's a realistic chance the Chargers miss the playoffs this year, but we'll see what ends up happening. New England beats Atlanta in Foxborough 24-23. Obviously, that is 6 wins in a row for New England. Drake May plays a solid game. He did throw a pick, I believe. Did he? I don't know. Drake London goes for 3 touchdown catches, though. He had a spectacular touchdown catch at the end. And then John Parker Romo missed the extra point. He has since been waived by the Falcons, and that pretty much closes the door on the Falcons season. The NFC is way too competitive for them to get back in it. So, I mean, New England keeps their run going, though. They will travel to Tampa Bay this week in a very good game. The 49ers beat the Giants on the road in MetLife. Christian McCaffrey, another spectacular game from him. His name is all over the stat sheet here. He's killing it in the pass game, killing it in the run game. Mac Jones plays another solid game as San Francisco gets past New York there. And arguably one of the best games of the weekend. I mean, on paper, at least going into the week, the Steelers hand the Indianapolis Colts their second loss of the season. Daniel Jones probably plays his worst game of the year. Even in that effort, he goes 31 for 50 for 342 yards and 1 touchdown. I mean, the Steelers, Mike Tomlin had a plan for Jonathan Taylor and he executed it to a T. They won 27-20, and this game was not as close as the scoreboard says. Um, I don't know why I didn't pick the Steelers here. I mean, this is Mike Tomlin. This is at home. This is coming off a few bad losses. I should have seen this one coming from a mile away, but they get it done. Broncos and Texas play a defensive slugfest, and Denver comes from behind yet again. I believe this game was 15-7. Houston at one point, and then Denver wins 18-7. Will Lutz kicks a game-winning field goal. Bo Nix throws 2 touchdowns there. Texas defense is legit. It's just their offense. CJ Stroud went out in this game with looked like a bad concussion. Davis Mills ended up coming in. Denver ended up winning the game. Another very sneaky game here. Jaguars at Raiders in Las Vegas. 30-29. Jacksonville escapes in OT. Vegas went for 2 to try to get the win. Geno Smith ball tipped at the line and game over. Jacksonville goes to 5-3 because this is Jacksonville's season on the line. The AFC is very wide open and competitive. You see Kansas City outside right now. They're going to be in. I think Kansas City might run the table at this point, but Geno Smith goes 29 for 39, 24, and 4 touchdowns. Probably his best game of the entire season, maybe outside of week one, but they win 30-29, Jacksonville. The Rams coming off the bye. Matthew Stafford is balling 34-10. The Rams win. Puka Nakua's back. Devontae Adams is playing well. Kyron Williams, UC 25 for 114 and a touchdown. The Rams are a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and I think you have an argument. They have a legitimate argument to be the best team in the NFC. I cannot wait to see when they play the Seattle Seahawks in a few weeks. Obviously, when you go into the season, this is the one that's circling everybody's calendar, your AFC Championship rematch in Buffalo. And my predictions weren't very good this week. We'll do picks again tomorrow night, so I'll talk about that more. I was pretty horrible this week on my picks, but I did predict one thing right, and it was the Buffalo Bills winning the regular season game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Buffalo wins at home. Kansas City drops to 5-4. Another very, very good game, high profile game. Every time Mahomes, Allen, every time those two quarterbacks see each other, it's cinema, just to say the least. Yeah. Seattle beats Washington on the road 38-14 in this game. Obviously, the big story coming out of this one was Jane Daniels' gruesome elbow injury. It looked like it snapped the other way. He's expected to miss pretty much the rest of the season. I mean, if Washington's out of contention by the time he's healthy, which is likely at this point, Washington's 3-6. It's a sophomore slump, sophomore season. I think they'll be back. Jane Daniels will be back. They'll be back, and they'll be ready to retool. Dan Quinn, it was everybody was an outrage because Dan Quinn kept Jaden Daniels in the game, which was absolutely right. I mean, I don't think Dan Quinn was right, but I think everybody else was right to criticize Dan Quinn and keeping him in the game. But yeah, Commanders fall here in a blowout win. Seattle, I'll talk about Seattle. Seattle, great. I mean, 330 yards, 4 touchdowns. What more? What more? What more can you say about Seattle? I'm ready to call him for real. I don't know if I'm call him a Super Bowl contender, but Mike McDonald, I was a huge fan of the hire when it happened, and I'm a huge fan now. And on Monday Night Football last night, Arizona beats Dallas in Jerry's World. Dallas falls to 3-5-1. Carolina goes to 3-5. They win 27-17. Jacoby Brissett, he's playing way better than Kyler Murray was. So I think they're going to opt to go with Jacoby Brissett even when Kyler Murray's healthy. Marvin Harrison probably had his best game the entire season in this one. So yeah, Cardinals get it done. They snap a 5-game losing streak. And yeah, that's your week 9. Let's preview week 10 real quick. Then we'll hop up out of here. On Thursday night, AFC West matchup. Raiders, Denver. I don't know. I could see Denver. I mean, I could see the Raiders keeping this one a little bit close based off how they came off the bye last week. Geno Smith played a decent game. Brock Bowers obviously had 3 touchdowns in that game. It's your good old AFC West rivalry. It'll be interesting to see. This one, Denver's clearly the better team here, though. We are back in the international series. Falcons, Colts, pretty intriguing game. We'll see if Sauce Gardner's healthy enough to play for the Colts and make his debut overseas. Colts are sitting at 7-2. Falcons sitting at 3-5. This one's on NFL Network in Berlin. The Giants and Bears take off in Soldier Field. Bills Dolphins, they play matchup number 2 on the season in South Beach. This one, this one's very intriguing. I still have no idea who I'm going to pick in this one. I'm kind of looking at these games, thinking about who I'm going to pick, but this one's in US Bank Stadium. JJ McCarthy had the Vikings looking great last week, but Lamar Jackson's back. They need to make a run at this AFC North title, and this will be a very good game here. Baltimore's favored by 4.5 points. Interesting. Let's see what Justin Jefferson can say about that. You have the Tank Bowl here. Browns Jets 2-6 versus 1-7 in MetLife. One of the best games of the weekend right here, if not the very best. Patriots Buccaneers in Tampa. Bucks coming off the bye. They're favored by 2.5 points here. Obviously, it's Drake May, Baker Mayfield. I think it was a huge missed opportunity to not put this game on Fox and have Brady call it. But, I mean, CBS, Nance, and Romo will be on the call for this one. This will be a very good game. NFC South matchup here in Carolina as New Orleans takes on Carolina. Tyler Shuck, second start. Jags and Texans play in Houston. I believe this is matchup number 2. They played week 3, right? Yeah, they played week 3. This is matchup number 2 between these two teams. Another second matchup. Cardinals, Seahawks, 3-5 at 6-2. These two played on Thursday night a few weeks ago. And again, another second matchup. Rams 49ers. This one's high powered. 6-2 Rams, 6-3 49ers. The first matchup in Los Angeles, the Niners won. It was Mac Jones had a gritty game on Thursday night. Matthew Stafford has something to say about this one, though, just to give a little hint on whom I'm picking this one. 425 on Fox this week. Lions, Commanders. Obviously, your NFC divisional round rematch. I mean, Detroit should win this one handedly. Commanders, obviously, it's Marcus Mariota starting. It's time to pack up the season for Washington at this point. I mean, their year's over. They're 3-6 right now. Pack it up. Sunday night football in SoFi. Steelers, Chargers. High powered AFC matchup. Your AFC North leader versus an AFC wildcard team right now in the Chargers. It'll be very, very interesting to see TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Nick Herbig against the Chargers tackle. We'll see if Trevor Penning ends up starting and making his debut. He was obviously just traded today, as I talked about, but yeah. And on Monday Night Football, a big, big NFC matchup in Green Bay. Eagles, Packers, rematch of last year's wild card game. This one's in Lambeau. Packers coming off a loss versus Carolina, where Jordan Love looked lost, and Philadelphia, who is coming off the bye week here. So this week you have Bengals, Cowboys, Titans, and Chiefs on the bye. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's 365 recap. We had a lot to recap today. So that's probably a longer video. I'm going to go put that thing in the editing machine right now, make the thumbnail, and get this thing scheduled for later tonight. But if you guys did enjoy today's video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more content exactly like this. I will be back on Thursday afternoon, obviously, as usual, to pick the games. As usual, to pick every single Week 10 game. I was pretty horrible last week, so hopefully I can do better than that. But have a great night. I'll see y'all Thursday. Go Bengals.